So, yeah, thank you for joining this session about MadeToPrint and the new features we developed in the last year. And yeah, I'd like to show what you can do with that and how you can enhance your workflows and even speed up your work. Yeah. So current version is 2.7312. That was just released last Thursday, I think. And it is available for CS6 up to CC 2019. So Adobe released a new CC version, and we just met that. So Karina already mentioned it in the first session. We now also support page ranges from job setting, from the settings in the job set. So in MadeToPrint you can combine multiple output sets like output high-res PDF, output low-res PDF, output a JPEG or whatever into job sets. So you just run one job and you get multiple output. And in previous version you had to output a whole page range for all the contained jobs. But now you can just choose to use the page ranges as they are set up in the set.
Do they have to be in sequential order,
no.
like 1, 2, 3, and 5? Or could I do 5 and then 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, okay. It's, and I will go over to InDesign right now. I have here, like I bought some penguins from David. It's a 5-page, document. And in MadeToPrint, I have, if I go to the setup page, I have a high-res PDF file where I set up to have page range number 1. So I just want to output page number 1 with that setting. I have one for the last page, which is in this case actually the same, but it could be another quality or it could be other like setting. And, right. And as you see, as page range, I also use a token. So you don't have, if you have a 5-page document, if you have 6 pages, 8 pages, it doesn't matter. If you want to have the last page, just enter the token page count. So we'll put in a 5-page document, it will put in number 5, and it will output page number 5. And then I have a JPEG output just to show that it's a different output. And there I use the page range 2 up to the next to last page. So I'm using again the page count, but subtracting 1. So it's the page next to the last page.
So how does the algorithm know that you don't mean 2 minus page count?
It's actually because the page range we use here is the InDesign page range. So every page range you can use is what you use in InDesign. Mm-hmm. So you could also say I want to output section A. Yeah. Just like you can do it in InDesign.
But you have 2 minus signs. One is really a minus,
yeah.
And one is a 2.
Okay, that's in regard to the token engine. Yeah. So this is a string, just plain text. And beginning with the token, first token, token opener, and the token ender, and everything in there is a MadeToPrint token, which will be evaluated on execution. And there you can calculate, Right. And all those I included into a set. And if I run that, I can now choose to use those page ranges from these sets in the job. I could also say, never mind what I've set up in the jobs. I want to output all pages for all jobs contained in the set. I could choose that as well, or just output the first page for all of these sets, but in this case I just want to use the page ranges that I have already set up. And if it already finished the output because there's not much to do. If I go to the results folder, you see that I have different output for first page. This is PDF. The middle pages are JPEG, and the last page is a PDF again. So it gets you quicker to the task where you want to be. Right. Next is the single page output. You may wonder, single output, we always had the single page output, but we now also support single page output for InDesign files. So if you go in MadeToPrint and export so your destination is an InDesign file, you now can choose to use single page output. And what we actually do is we just output, so it's not possible in InDesign, so if you save a page range from InDesign, or you cannot save just page 1 for an InDesign document. So with MadeToPrint, and I'm going back to my result folder, so you see there's nothing in the result folder. And if I print now, and it's pretty quick, I have 5 different InDesign files, and each InDesign file containing only 1 page.
But it's only 1 page possible, so the page ranges.
It's page ranges. So you could also have spreads. Each spread has separate, and also like page ranges. No, page ranges.
You could say 1 to 3 and 5 to 9.
And I think it's only the single pages. But it's a good idea. So we have the technique, we could just use that.
Technology, so it should be easy to implement.
Yeah, we could do that.
You also have the user interface from the other one. So.
Yeah, good point. But currently it's only single page output. But
it's how often that people want to have 2 pages.
Yeah.
For spreads and
if a spread would work right now.
Okay. If it's defined as a spread.
What?
If it's defined as a spread.
Yes.
It's not defined as a spread.
So that is only a spread. So it's a 1 page spread. But But if I have 2 pages here next to each other, then it would also work with the single page output. Yeah. But good point. I think I can talk about that next year.
Okay.
Right. So that's a pretty good feature we now have. Then we enhanced our InDesign package output. So we included include IDML and include PDF into the output. InDesign introduced that in CC 2014. And in MadeToPrint you can now choose to use that as well. In previous version you needed to have a set where you're doing a package and afterwards doing a PDF conversion and put that into the same folder and then output an IDML also to the same folder. So now you can just set that up in your MadeToPrint. So just, you have seen that, and then just running the packaging, and it's actually pretty fast. And it will just, like InDesign, include the IDML and the PDF file. And for the PDF file, you can also choose which output setting to use, so which PDF export preset to use in that output. Right. And as we speak about IDML, we also have included IDML into the input format for batch mode. So you now can process a bunch of IDML files into whatever file format you have in InDesign or in MadeToPrint. So you could just create a bunch of IDML files into PDF, or you could even save them as InDesign file. And that is good for workflows where you have multiple InDesign versions, where you can just, using your CC 2018, for example, batch mode it, convert them to IDML, and then use a MadeToPrint in InDesign CS6, and batch convert them to InDesign CS6 files. So it's good for multiple version workflows. And same for the batch mode. We also included a new token, which is Subpath, and that will simply return. So in batch mode, you choose one folder, and MadeToPrint will output all InDesign and IDML files which are in those subfolders. And in previous versions, you could only output the PDF files, for example, in the plain output structure. But now you can include the subpath into the output path. So you would have the same, as you see, the same folder structure for input and output. For batch mode, I can close my current document. So batch mode is hopefully known. It's a feature of the MadeToPrint standard. And if I go in here, I have the Subpath Token, and it's simply as is Subpath. And so batch mode is done here. I can just process a folder full of InDesign or IDML files. And so I have a folder of IDML penguins, if you want it. So yellow penguins, green penguins, and blue penguins. And if I choose the IDML folder as batch input folder, it will open all those, will just output 5 IDML files. And in the output, you just have the same folder structure. And it could be even a deeper folder structure, so more subfolders. Right. Then we have another new token, which is called Scriptlabel. And I showed a nice use case last year where a customer had a file and defined a script label to a particular text frame, and he wanted to have that text frame content as file name. In that case, I think it was like barcode content. So there was multiple pages, multiple labels for bottles, for example, and each had a barcode on it, different versions, and they wanted to include the barcode into that file name.
But the number of the barcode was as text in the file?
Yes, yes.
Not only the barcode?
No, it was the text. Yeah. So they had they put a script label on it, and they can run a pre-processed script in MadeToPrint that created a text file. The text file was read by like a more or less complex token, and then they had a post-processed script file which deleted the temporary text file, and so on. So it worked pretty well, but it was pretty complex. So that's why we now included just a script label token. So all the pre-processed script, post-processed script, it's not necessary anymore. You just have your single token. And I'm not the best designer, so oh, that's the single page. So that's my document, and I'm looking for my. I have too much documents here. I think it was that one. Well, nevertheless, then I just create a new. That's on the master page, and I just wanted to have my page number in here. Insert special character. So I have my page number token here. And in InDesign, you have the Scriptlabel panel. And you can define for different text frames, you can have your page label, and that's for accessing those in a script. But we just use that in our token engine. So I define that here we have a text frame where the content should be in the file name. And that should be page label. I could have other ones, so I could have an additional for barcode, could have another one for, I don't know, for the regional option of the articles. And if I think it's just hidden behind, but that could be another option as well. So you just hide that in the background, and you still can access the information. And in MadeToPrint, it's now a pretty easy file naming. You just define your Scriptlabel token. You mention which one, so you can have different, in the file name you can have multiple script labels. And I think I named it page label now, so it's uppercase and lowercase. You could also have like a default value. So if you don't find a text frame on the page which has that particular script label, then use another one or use something else. Like for page numbers, if you don't find the page label text frame, just use the page label token, for example. And if I output that right now, again I have in my output, in my results, okay, now MadeToPrint didn't find it, but that's, I don't know, maybe it's the wrong document. So it was, I used the wrong another document, and I don't know, I have to, maybe it's because it was labeled differently. So here is page label. Oh, it didn't save the page label. So there was no page label assigned to the text frame, so it obviously didn't find anything. So I think if I'm running it now, Scriptlabel, yeah. So now you see it's page 1, page 2, page 3, and so on. Right. Right. And also for naming of files and folders, you can now define that you don't want to create the destination folder. So the normal processing is that MadeToPrint will automatically create the folder structure for you. So if you use tokens like the date or whatever you can think about, MadeToPrint will create those folders. But there was a request that in some cases you don't want to have that. Maybe because of you have a set of output folders you have because of publications, for example. And for whatever reason, if there's an error, you don't want to have a new publication in your output folders. So now you can just choose to not to create the destination folder. And if it does not exist, so it's just here in the settings, you just can tick that on. And if the folder does not exist yet, you will just get an, a message. And there's also a new output. So we try, like, I think 3 or 4 times before actually throwing an error. So if your network connection is pretty bad, you can just MadeToPrint will try 3 or 4 times and see if it still is not available or if it is. And if not, you can just see the output path is not valid or not writable, and then you can define what you have. Yeah, you can check why that is. So far, so clear? Okay. Yeah, and Karina also mentioned that in the first session we have a new server UI for our MadeToPrint server versions. And previously we used Adobe Air and built our application around Adobe Air, and that was okay, but it's very limited on the options we have, and it was also not that stable. And so the actual connection between our server UI and the MadeToPrint in the InDesign server is via SOAP. So we talk to the server with SOAP scripts, and it was not very well done in the Adobe Air application. So some scripts didn't return, and then we have to guess what's wrong. So now we use our own application. So it's on Windows, it's an .exe file, and on Mac, it's an app. So we have better control on what we want to do and what we need to do, and also the connection to the server is pretty good, and it's faster and it's more reliable also for our for the UI itself. So the goal is that the server UI will become like a control center a real control center where you can do really lots of stuff, and that's now possible with a new interface we implemented. And if you already have a look at that, for the old one you have one server connection where you saw the status, then you have to go to the next server connection, see the status, and so on. And if you now have a look at here, you already have a list of all servers you have set up. So you have, for example, here I have 4 instances running, and you also have a color-coded bullet in front where you can see what the server instances are doing. So for example, I have one, the 10,001, which is red, and I can see from that it's not running anymore. And I can get into the onto the server machine and just checking what's going on. And it's so we have 4 colors. There's a yellow, and that just means that the server is not running, and it was not running in that flow. There's a light green, means that the InDesign server is running, but the MadeToPrint auto mode is not running. But that might be on purpose. Then you have a dark green, which is the server is running, MadeToPrint is watching hot folders, so everything is fine. And the red one is MadeToPrint should run, but it does not run anymore. And then you need to do your actions. Right. So, and the last new things we introduced is regarding the XML-Jobticket mode. So it's our connection to Woodwing Enterprise, K4 from Vue, or any other system switch, for example, or your own XML variants. We now introduced a new tag, the single page output, where you can just define if you're if you want to use the single page output mode or not. So you can set it up in a job, in your MadeToPrint job, but you can override that with your job tickets. So you don't need to have two variants of the job for each. Version. And also for the output, so after processing, MadeToPrint is writing a status XML file, and we enhance that result info. So you now have information about the processor. So on which instance, which MadeToPrint version, which machine has actually processed the file. So you can, if you post-process the XML files, you can do statistics, for example, which instance is doing faster, so you are early in the workflow, you can see which instance like getting trouble. So we had it at a customer that one instance was failing, and they built their own checking mechanism, and one instance was, after like 2 hours, needed more time to process the same amount of files. And they were actually able to really early in the process see that flow, and then they could restart the machine and then have all power again in the workflow. Right. And I wanted to show that, so I start up my InDesign servers. So I just start InDesign. And again, I can start my MadeToPrint server instance. I have, you can see that the bullets updates now that InDesign is running, and MadeToPrint is also running. And I still can select all those different instances, and I will see which instance has done or processed how many jobs, and if there has been errors. And I now just copy some job tickets in here. And if I go to the out folder and I open that, you see that I now, it tells me there was an error, that no document, that there was unable to open document, and I can go into the, I can check why that happened, but I also can see which instance has processed that document. So this is a better way of just seeing what happens in your workflow.